Hi everyone. Oh my God, we're back again. It's been a little bit of a longer period of time, and now we are back with a lot of goodies. Today is a special session because, as many of you, especially people that have been following, this stream, know that we have been kind of, building on top of an existing component that doesn't exist yet, right? So just for the people that are wondering, why do we need dependency injection, interfaces, and all that kind of stuff? That's the benefit of it. It allows people to build, onwards and downwards, upwards and downwards without having to block each other. So just to kind of bring people up to kind of what the state of things are, and how amazing the work that we're doing is. Here's a little bit of kind of high level view of where we at. We are trying to implement a capability that allows us to send files to the OpenAI RESTful API, right? So we need to send files. These files can be audio, it can be transcript. Mainly we're using it for fine-tuning models, but mainly the main thing is that we want to send these files over, to the OpenAI, upload these files in a file format, and basically be able to kind of get a response and then reutilize these files later for whatever purpose we want. What that entails then is that we went ahead and we wrote this architecture. We went and said, okay, I want a local file broker, right? So we built that one. Let's do these local file broker. And then we basically went and said, okay, in addition to that, I want a local file service. And then we had the OpenAI stuff. So we said AI file API broker. And then we have an AI file service. Okay, so when people are sending us a file, we want to store it somewhere or read it from somewhere, turn it into a stream. So we figured that one out, right? We basically went and said, okay, here's your, where's the file? There you go. So here's a file shape, and let's fix that a little bit. Here we go. I'm a little bit, here's your OCD kicking in really well in here. There you go. And then, so that's your file, right? So we're reading a file. So the person that's consuming our system is going through a client that's integrated with a orchestration service. So this would be AI file orchestration service like this. And this service is basically going and reading that file and then going back and sending that file to OpenAI API. It seems very simple and straightforward. However, like sometimes they say the wind comes against what the ships want. So the ship want to go north, the wind is going to push you south, and so on. And this, just so you guys know, it doesn't matter how much experience you have in the tech industry. You will always run into a situation where you're going in one direction or another, and then something completely unexpected happens. And when that thing happens, you're going to have to think on your feet. You're going to have to be really smart and think on your feet and start thinking, okay, what can I do to mitigate this issue? What can I do to solve this problem? It also is a huge lesson for all of us to know that when you're estimating, a delivery of a component, give yourself a little bit of a wiggle room. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. Even if you think you know how to deliver a particular capability 100,000%, give yourself a couple of days, maybe a week. It depends on how big it is. Usually I just multiply by two. Like whatever engineers tell me, I'll just multiply it by two and be like, okay, you want a week? Here's 2 weeks, right? Because when you're an engineer and you're trying to estimate a certain capability, the first thing that you're going to be thinking about, oh, just what I'm going to build is going to take about 2 days. But what about the infrastructure? What about the testing? What about the deployment? What about issue you're going to run into production? Okay, you deployed and you ran everything, and the customer circled back and said, hey, I discovered the scenario that you never thought about, and the feature is still incomplete. So you always want to kind of incorporate that. I usually also incorporate the learning curve. Like if you're pulling in someone with you to do this with you, if you do it on your own, it'll take an hour, but that's not fun. That's boring. You want to pull someone to sit down with you for a whole day. It's much better than just kind of sitting down and trying to get the task done by yourself. Because once you're gone, the whole thing is down. Like you become a single point of failure. Don't allow yourself. Like it doesn't make sense to orchestrate or develop services that doesn't have single points of failure, but you are in terms of the organization structure that you're working with. Okay, so here's Mahdi. Hey, Mahdi, long time. Haven't seen you in a while. Okay, do you guys remember this guy? He's real. He's still alive. It's good. I think he's in Poland or something like that, or Greece or something. Okay, so we have this. Now, now people might ask, okay, Hassan, we have all of this implemented. That's the beauty of dependency injection. We don't have the client yet. We don't have the little pieces that will do the client, and that's totally fine because the client area is going to be the easiest area, including the testing and all that. But here's what I want to do. In order for us to communicate with OpenAI RESTful APIs, they mandate a certain format that RESTful Sense did not support yet. So this is RESTful Sense. And for the people who don't know what RESTful Sense is, it's basically a .NET library that that helps you with the serialization API communication, but also turns HTTP codes into meaningful, strongly typed exceptions, which makes this library extremely unique. It has over 100,000 downloads. It's a very successful library. It's used in so many different systems around the world. RESTful Sense doesn't support that. So we ran into this is just like a brief about season 1 of this series.
Mm.
It didn't support that. So I was like, okay, we need an innovative solution. We can't just, throw a multi-part form there. And it took a lot of brain power, a lot of churning. Brian, Crystal hits from the side, Rami, myself, so many people kind of jumping in saying, okay, why don't we just do it this way? Why don't we just? And then we eventually landed on a solution that I'm going to let Brian Parker kind of explain and demonstrate for all of us. I'm not gonna take your light here. I'm gonna let you do what you do because to be honest with you, you didn't just come up with the idea, which is usually enough. You came up with the idea and you materialized it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's pretty good. That's very powerful. Go ahead, Brian.
So materializing it was pretty easy. And like you said, we went through a heap of iterations on a whole heap of different ideas, and all the ideas worked, and it made it very hard to choose the right path. And in the end, I think we chose a path that was closest to the best path we could choose. And there's no perfect path here, I don't think. Okay, so we went with attributes. Now, let me.
Okay.
So we have a file that we are sending up that we had JSON
Mm-hmm.
attributes on, and what we've done is we went and created our own attributes. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to create a multi-part form, so RESTful Sense doesn't really care about OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI has a single use case.
Mm-hmm.
So, as from RESTful Sense point of view, a multi-part form could have many files, many stream contents, many string contents. So I had to come up with a design that could cater for that. So this is what we did. We come up with 3 attributes. One attribute to describe where the stream is for the file.
Mm-hmm.
Another attribute to, in this case, is builds a string content. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, for OpenAI, we're building a string content for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the other issue was attaching a file name to the stream.
Yes.
And that was
Yes.
the tricky one.
Yes.
So we had to come up with another attribute, and we just do it this way. And they're linked together by the key, which is the
Yep.
file.
Yep.
Okie dokie. So I'll get rid of that little line. Just typical me, being a bit OCD myself.
Mm-hmm.
So Hassan wanted a demonstration of how it all worked. So we'll hit that right now just to show that it works. Um, so
And then you'll
here I am.
explain it. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
then I'll let you Hassan hit me with some questions, and we'll go through it
Yep.
bit by
You
bit.
got it. You got it.
Yep. So what I had to do to get this to demonstration to work is I had to make this particular console app a friend of the OpenAI
Yeah.
program. I've created a solution here that actually has 3 different branches. That has
Nice.
three different repos. I've moved them all out into their own branch. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Just
And,
Brian, just for the people watching, Visual Studio now allows you to
mm,
operate on, you know how there's a big issue about mono repo and people don't want to deal with a big repo. Now Visual Studio allows you to deal with multiple repos when it's presenting them all to you as one repo. It's a beautiful, another innovative solution. Sorry, go ahead, Brian. You got it.
yeah. So I've got this one repo here, which is just a console app, but I bring in the other 2 repos, the standard and the OpenAI and RESTful Sense. You see here.
Mm-hmm.
You
Hmm.
see, I haven't had to touch RESTful Sense at all. There's no ticks there. I've had to fiddle. Of course, I had to change write the console program so the ticks are there, and
Hmm.
I had to do a little bit of changing in REST in OpenAI in our OpenAI project. Um,
Hmm.
yep, which was just basically this adjustment here with the attributes, and I had to. Uh, I
Hmm.
think I I think I had to write the code here. It was this was a throw an exception.
Yeah, there, yeah, just for the people, Devyesh, the little cursor thing, I have no idea why it's doing that, and I might just switch to a completely different streaming software because this is becoming more and more annoying. Sorry about that,
Mm.
Brian.
It seems to be more with the people that are a long way away from you. I
Yep.
noticed the
Yeah.
American, yeah, the
Yeah.
American people aren't getting this, and but people that are overseas are. Yeah.
I didn't know
What?
it's that. You know,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. There, it could be a replication issue. Like it could be they could be doing a geo redundancy thing and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know how to sync up. Oh my God, that could be actually it. That could be it.
It had only started a few weeks ago, didn't it? Yeah.
Robert says that looks like a codec issue as you redraw. I know that Elbic had this problem. Brian, you had this problem. Kailu doesn't.
Mm.
Yusuf didn't. You
Yeah, and
know.
you guys are close. There's no lag, and you're all hitting the same server. I'm guessing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So
Maybe
let's.
because I'm the host, it's coming to me. So those who are closer to me are on the same. Anyway, this is not about StreamYard. I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I'm happily distracted as well. Okay,
ahead.
let's hit the go button.
Let's
So
do it.
what I've done here is I've set up a string which simulates the contents of the file. I'm pushing the string into a byte array, and then
Guys,
I'm pushing the
watch
byte array
this.
into a
This
stream.
is, you
Yeah.
won't find this anywhere else on YouTube. This is
Yep.
very interesting. This is
So
true innovation. Go ahead.
so
Go.
it so it's done the post already. We're here at the breakpoint. I think. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep. There you go. Job done.
Interesting. Interesting. That's insane, man. Um, wow. So you, okay, okay. Let's go back to this. Let me just show you guys what, Brian, I'm gonna draw something to what I
Hmm.
think the solution is, and then you tell me because you kind of took ownership of the whole thing. You kind of owned the whole thing. I know that you like inside RESTful Sense, this is like a subsystem that has a like a standard compliant this standard compliant system that has a subsystem that's also standard compliant. So you had a like a reflection broker,
Broker.
right?
Yep.
Okay. What other brokers did you have to have for this?
Let me have a closed look. I don't think I did any other brokers.
So just a reflection broker. Okay. And
Yep.
then from that reflection broker, I'm assuming you have like a reflection service like this?
No, yeah, I have.
Hmm.
So the reflection broker actually has four methods inside it, and I end up having to
Yes.
create four foundation services for each of those.
Nice. Okay, so you have four foundation services.
Hmm.
Okay, let's just see how you architected this because this is huge. Like this is a big deal. Okay, give me the names of these services.
Let me just 2 seconds. So we have one called file name. Let's start with the easy one. So we started with string content.
String content service.
Hmm.
Okay.
And then we have stream content.
So string content service and then
Stream,
oh
yeah,
stream
yeah,
content service. Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
yep.
Nice.
And then we have a property service.
Properties
That probably should have been the top one. Yeah,
service. Okay.
yep. And file name service.
Okay, so let's order these in the order that you will be calling them. So you
Mm,
have a property service, string content service, stream content service, and file name service. Is that correct?
mm, that's right.
And because these have different files underneath, like we say student and teacher on a storage broker, so these guys are kind of reading from the same reflection broker or a partial of the reflection broker. Okay, now what? Tell me the rest of the story.
Okay, so the property service, we didn't have to do any processing with that. It basically gets passed up to the orchestration to get used. So we had to create a processing service for the properties, but it's just a pass through.
It's a pass-through. Okay, so properties processing service. Got it.
Yep. Yep.
Properties processing service. Okay.
Now, the other three services basically act as a source of data to do filtering of the properties. So this is why we needed an orchestration and processing service. So
Yes.
the properties have to go all the way up to the orchestration service,
Yes.
and the
So,
orchestration then
mhm.
has to ask the other three processing services to filter the properties based on the attributes.
Okay. So let me see if this is so properties service content processing service, right, Brian? Something like
Yes,
this. And then stream content processing service, and then you also have file name processing service. Cool.
that's right.
And the
Yes,
orchestration service working on all four of them?
yes. So the orchestration,
Ah,
yeah,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
uh, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
listening.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say because I'm operating on more than two.
I'll tell you something though. When you come at this level, maintaining a certain level of simplicity could be quite daunting. So here's what it's okay. We have a working solution. You made it
So
work.
the point I
Go
want to
ahead.
make there about the pushback you're about to give me is those three bottom processing services are almost identical. It,
Okay.
but you know, I could have done it with a generic service, but I chose not to
Mm.
because I
If
couldn't
if
see it.
if you don't
Yeah.
have to do it this way, there's a way to circle around it, which is basically saying, watch this. All the content services will sit together. See, that's what I call conceptual and logical normalization. What I
Mm.
basically saying here is that it says, okay, what is the commonalities here? Oh, there's a content orchestration service that will give you string and stream content, right? Like this.
So essentially, what you do is you get a heap of properties off your model, and not all the
Mhm.
properties are going to be to do with a particular attribute. So you've got to filter those properties for each
Right.
particular attribute, and that's what the other three processing services are doing.
So you basically go and say, give me the properties
Yep.
here.
Yep. And based
And if the
on
property says it's a file name, go with the file name. If the property says a string content, then go with string content. If the property says go stream, then you go stream. Is that what it is?
you have to pass the property back down to the processing service, and the processing
Right.
service uses reflection. It's part of how the
Let's
foundation
see.
service. Yeah.
So you basically have it like this, where let's just imagine the flow here, and we can
Mm.
optimize it. It's okay. I just want to see. I mean, this part, that's the least of my concerns. Anyone that read the standard can normalize that part. The part that is a little harder to kind of get around is to be able to actually execute and come up with a solution that looks almost identical like you're passing a JSON when you're not. You're not really
Mm.
passing a JSON. You're completely playing with a completely different set of rules, but you've kind of figured out a way to normalize it, which is amazing. So let's just call this an orchestration service for now.
Mm-hmm. So what
And
are you
what's
suggesting? This should be broken into more orchestration.
yeah, that's all that it is. It's
Mm.
or we can either denormalize these three guys, right? Or we normalize further with two orchestration services and one coordination service. There's nothing wrong with that. We've been
Mm.
there already multiple times. So so you're getting the request, which is this file that you just showed us, that little file that has the attributes, right?
Mm.
And each one of them has its attribute and all that, but it's also carrying data. You go into the properties service, you go to the properties broker, you're picking up all the properties,
Mm.
and then you're going and saying, based on each and every property, I'm going to send it to either file name, string content, and
I actually
stream.
send all the properties because I don't know at that stage what they are.
Mm,
I have to send them all. So the processing services, this is why I had to use processing services, actually have to do filtering.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they basically filter what's passed to it from the properties service, and take and once it realizes it's a file name attribute, it grabs the data for the file name attribute and then creates a new class. which is
Mm-hmm.
internal and passes all that data back up to the orchestration service. And the orchestration service then just simply uses that to put it all together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you still pass all the properties down to this guy, and this guy. And the
Yes.
only difference is that the file name. Okay, let's take a look at the code real quick. Let's just see. Here is the or if you have the code, Brian, you can just, kind of zoom in just a second and show me
Yeah.
what show me what the file or processing service looks like.
The file processing, or
Yeah.
sorry, so this is the orchestration service at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see I'm retrieving all the properties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I start building a blank multi-part form.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Mm-hmm.
then I basically, this method here calls yeah, so this one builds the string contents and this one builds the stream contents. Now the stream
Yeah.
contents is a little bit more complicated because I have to,
Yeah. You
uh,
need you need the two properties.
yeah, I need the file name. Yes.
Two or many. No, it's
Yeah.
actually it has to be two. If it's more than
Yeah.
two, we
Yeah.
fail. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the stream one. Okay. And so we start building up. So this here
Mm-hmm.
is the result of the filter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And at this stage, I have these named stream contents, and then
Mm-hmm.
this item here holds the name, the file name, and the stream content.
Stream content. Right.
Yeah. So at this stage,
Ah, so you took the attributes and you kind of extracted a strongly typed. Oh, nice.
yeah.
Nice. Nice.
And so at this stage, yeah. So I'm basically building up a list of stream contents here, which is returned to, yeah. And I do the
Uh-huh.
same. Yep. Yep. So basically, once I iterate through them and add them all into the multi-part form, and then we got a multi-part form.
Yeah.
So, which processing service did you want to see?
Let's look at the file processing service.
The
The
stream one.
stream, yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
This
well,
is
it's
the
found.
foundation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry.
You're fine. Okay. So property values, you took the property value.
Yeah.
You have another challenge here because you're passing in property value model and you're getting back named stream content. These are two different contracts. But I will be picky later. I just want to see. So you basically have the property values, you're iterating over these, and then for every property value, you're
If for
so
every property value that's not null after it's been through the filter,
yeah,
right?
if it's not null,
We have a
where
stream
is,
content.
but wait, where is the part? So does the orchestration service make sure that the property values that you're receiving are stream related? Because in here you're assuming that the property values are going to be a stream, so you must have filtered out the string values.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So part of the yeah, it's this will return null if it's anything other than a stream, basically.
Oh, and then what happens? It blows up,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. We gotta need some validation there for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
but I see what you're trying to.
Yep.
Okay, okay,
I do have validation around this. Yes. Yep.
okay, okay.
I see what you mean. You need. I should be specifically. Yeah.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
just catching. I'm just catching the blow up.
So this is here gonna basically, you'll
So this.
say, okay, convert to stream. Go to the orchestration service that's calling this method real quick from
Uh,
references maybe. Yeah, that guy. So what is this guy doing? It basically took the okay, so there's this method, and now where's this method being called? Filter stream contents. Mm.
so at this stage, I have a list of all the stream contents that I'm going to be trying to put into the form.
Yeah, what is this filter stream contents? What does this
That's the
yeah,
processing. That's the processing service.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
this is sorry. This is just a one-liner through to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could directly call it from here.
I see.
I just didn't like the huge long line of code.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. Um,
Now, it has sometimes streams don't have file names, as we know.
that's
So
right.
it has to do one little test, and rather than simply add it in, because it has to use a different add based on whether there's a file name or not. That's basically the only reason there's logic inside that loop.
Right. I think this is a working solution. I think it's a solution that we can rely on in beta stage just to make sure we're testing it and whatnot. But here's my 2 cents. I really appreciate the work that you put into this, Brian. This is really great. Um, First of all, we have to ensure that our contract is actually pure. So I see in a lot of places where the parameters that are being passed in are not the same parameters that are being passed out, and they're not primitive either, right? Is this property value our model, your own local model that you developed, or is it outside of the box, something that comes
It's
native?
my own value. It's a combination of both.
So,
It's a combination of both the property info and the
mhm.
actual value of the property.
Okay, and then if you go back one, what's the return type on the method? Let's go back
Uh,
one.
yeah, so it was this name stream content.
And that's
So that
also our local model, right?
that's also a local model, but it sort of builds on that a bit more. It sort of, once that processing realizes that it's one of the particular types of content, it then can process it a bit further and turn it into another local model. We know that it's
Right,
a stream content at that time. We can probably get the file name, and we can definitely get the name.
right, right. So that's just one, the only thing, this is just one design issue that I see that stood out to me, but everything else is fine. We're gonna have to think a little bit about how we can enforce that rule while still being able to um, um, execute the solution because these constraints are there for a reason to ensure that the solution stays simple. In fact, actually, I noticed that maintaining the same contract forces the engineers to maintain a level of simplicity into the methods that they develop or they design.
Mm-hmm.
So this, and I'm sorry for the people that came for OpenAI, this is a little bit of advanced topic, but I'm basically putting restrictions that will force you to think in terms of one contract at all times. And if you're thinking of an external contract, it's all implicit and hidden outside of your API, outside of the exposure layer that you're working with, which is great. It works. It's a rule that works. Um, so if that's the case here,
So how do you deal with a method that transforms something?
you either create a virtual contract that contains the request and the response,
Mm-hmm.
or you simplify. You try to you either go up or go down. So
Yeah.
going up is the lazy solution. That's very much what we did with OpenAI. I said, oh, here's the response and the request, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very lazy. Like, don't
Mm-hmm.
think that this is like, no, that's extremely lazy, right? But then again, I do this because I want people to know that later on there will be iterations and iterations and iterations on a particular library until it complete. I also want to do mistakes on purpose so people see what it's like to roll up a V2. So people still working with deprecated versions,
Mm-hmm.
what's it like to show the deprecation, and then what's it like to guide people to use the second version of a particular library. Yes, I will make the mistake on purpose, knowing that I'm guiding an entire group of people for 3 4 days on the wrong direction because I want to prove a point. Otherwise, there will be no chance. There will be no opportunity to show people versioning and all that kind of stuff. But does that make me evil? Yeah, that makes me a very evil person. But the point here to be made is I don't
There's
know. Maybe we can,
there's a
Brian.
risk.
Maybe
There's a
go ahead.
risk with there's a risk with that approach of yours if you let it go for a few days. If people only see a snapshot, they're actually getting misinformed.
I know. I It is what it is. Gotta take your shot. I mean, still, like what I will call a chaotic solution that I don't agree with is probably some other organization's top-notch standard of high-quality software. Just so
I
you
know.
understand. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what they say, one man's garbage is another man's treasure. So
I've worked in a place that they didn't know what a unit test was.
I've never seen that in my life. I don't know. I never met people that don't know what it is. But
You're blessed.
but okay, this is very interesting. So now the only design problem that we just have to deal with is, first of all, we need to avoid having an orchestration service talking to more than three
Mhm.
services, and that's easy. I don't think I'm super against you having making it generic if you can test it, and if it's
Mm,
simple, and it's
yeah.
simple.
Yeah,
That's one.
that's the issue, making generic stuff simple, especially when you bring it up higher into the levels. And that's why I decided, down low I had to go generic. But that's why I had to. As soon as I at the broker level, I straight away broke them out into different into different partial classes.
So we wanna normalize further on the foundation services, but we also want to um, we want to ensure the purity of the contract. Like if you're passing in whatever T object is, well then let me ask you this. If you go back to the orchestration service, you're passing in a T request, a
Now you
request of type. No,
so you're passing in a list of properties, which is property
no, no.
values.
At the orchestration level. At the
Uh,
orchestration level.
I thought I went there. Sorry. Yep.
So go to your interface. Now I found another reason why I like interfaces. Just here's a prototype, right? So you're passing in this T object and you're getting back a multi-part form data, but multi-part form data content, is this ours or native?
That's native, and that's what we
Yeah,
need.
that's fine. That
Yeah.
that I will treat that as
That,
primitive and say that's fine.
that's
hmm
the whole point of the module. Yes. Yeah. Is to build that thing.
This is the whole point of all of this.
Mm.
So here's something for you. Paul said something in here. He said spell it, then iterate all spells asking for subsets that apply that way it's extensible. Hmm. I'll circle back to this one, but the one I really wanna share here is from a high level perspective.
Just while you're listening, Paul, I'll try and talk to you later about that if it's okay.
Yes. Yeah. So how do we solve this problem here? We have these guys that seem to be sharing a certain capability, and that how I would see this, I'd say this is content, and this is two different other capabilities.
Hmm.
But the reality of the situation is that you're actually calling this once and then calling these based on what comes out of this guy. So there's this flow logic, and then there's just
Mm.
the
Oh,
domain
yeah.
logic.
I keep hearing that it's not based on what comes out of that guy. That guy will always return the same things, but those things have to be passed through the other. Have to be passed for filter. They have to be filtered for, or checked for the attribute.
Well, then Brian, let me ask you this: the file name and the stream content, these two produce the same thing, right? A multi-part form record. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, but the issue
Mm,
is there is you have to go looking for all the stream contents.
mm.
And then based once you got all the stream contents, you then have to go and see if there is a file name content for them that matches. So I build a dictionary and check the names.
We have to find a way to normalize this. The outside of the box normalization effort that you can do here is to basically split them into twos and twos, however logical way you take it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lazy part. So you're basically just for the people watching. What I'm saying here is that you basically go from this into two orchestrations, and then you
Yep.
throw a coordination on top of that. So you go back like just a little bit like this, and you throw a coordination service in here, an
Mm.
orchestration of orchestrations basically, and it it balances or enforces this 2-3 principle when you're basically saying I can't add 4. I can't add. Someone told me this earlier. Some people just went and did 4 and be like, why not? That's exactly how chaos gets created, right? Because if you're going to put 4, why not 5? Why not 6? Why not 7? And where do you draw the line, right? So you're going to have
Yeah.
to hold that line.
I actually,
But
I do remember when I was making this decision, and I knew that this was going to be an issue with the orchestration, but I was planning to push back, saying that those three of them were basically the same. But yeah, there was something that was open for discussion. Yeah.
if you can, so what I'm going to say is this. If you can get away with one service that does this streaming work
Mm.
or content work, if you can get away with it and it's easy to test, that's one thing. If it is hard to test, then that's another design problem that we have to solve mandatorily. Like we're not moving forward unless we solve. And this is where we come in, like an entire community comes in and says, okay, how do you how do you solve for this? How do you solve this particular issue, right? Um, I thought about Brian. I thought about Levent for a second.
Hmm.
I thought about sending an event downstream just for the people who are
This is
watching.
this is the
Mhm.
insane part about this particular problem. It is so easy to do without, I hate to say it, the standard around it.
Yeah, I
The,
know.
it is literally a handful of lines of code, and
Yeah,
yep,
it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do to create, and then becomes a nightmare to maintain.
yeah,
The
yep,
standard is for reading, not for writing. Like some designs out there are write only. They're not for reading,
yep.
right? And
I'm just hearing all the engineers out there looking at this thing, and it's so easy. Why is he going to this complication?
the thing is, just for the people watching, when this system looks like this and like this, and it will, and never think that it wouldn't, you still have a level 0 understanding and you can maintain it. Even it becomes like this. You still have level 0 maintenance and anybody can actually maintain your system. That's why we enforce these rules. Okay? It comes with a cost, a heavy cost, and it's, mind bending, but it's also very, very, very important. Paul says it's all subset of broker results. You have the same contract. No, he doesn't. Do you? I don't think so.
No.
You have a file, you have file content, you have stream content, you have string content, you have property value. That's not true. That's not the same contract. So anyway,
Paul's probably thinking of it as at an abstract level, and he could be right.
let,
But
let, let me tell you a funny story because this discussion is super serious. Someone once went and took this rule of pure contract. You know what he did? He made every method return object.
well,
It was like, what? Pure contract? And I was and I said to him, that's like me saying only people with tickets can come into, the stadium, and you basically said anybody with a piece of paper can come into the stadium because a ticket is just a piece of paper. So what's the difference, right? Screw contracts. We don't need them. Who needs contracts, right?
I got a
So
parking ticket. I can come in.
oh. So anyway, just so people understand, we're gonna have to either merge or normalize further. These are the two things that come off the top.
Hmm.
But I know by the morning I'm gonna have even more ideas. Levent comes to mind, Paul. Uh, Brian. Paul says you could use cul-de-sac at scale to have an extensible set of services to transform their pieces. Yes.
I actually thought, Paul, at one stage we could even break this whole thing out into a separate library, a reflection library.
Ooh, even more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But but let me yes, and I don't mind that as long as there is a utilization for
Mm-hmm.
it outside of this framework.
Yeah.
Um, okay, going back to what I was saying with Levent. Levent is basically cul-de-sac from the other side. It's basically the ball is going on the other side. One idea that can come to mind is basically have a service emit an event. So the event will go into, let's say, a broker like this. Watch the arrow flow, where it's coming from and where it's going. It's very important. And then you have multiple listeners sitting like this, and these multiple listeners could be many of them. And what happens, this is basically the Levent or cul-de-sac, reverse cul-de-sac was basically going and saying, hey, actually what we're happening here, where's the arrow? Give me an arrow. Yeah, something like this, right? And what's going to happen here is that we're going to send an event, a bunch of things is going to do some processing, and then that's it. Historically speaking, I've been telling people this is a fire and forget, but I also talked about the lake house, and I said there's also fire and observe, meaning that this guy that's firing through Levent is gonna wait for a list of results to come back. You know what I mean, Brian? And that's a
Mm-hmm.
great opportunity to implement that pattern. We're basically going and saying, hey, I'm going to send that event and I want you to give me a list of all the results that came out of the listeners to that event. And then I'm going to process that and shoot it back out through a higher level client or service or whatever the case may be. What's the advantage of this? You stay at a processing foundation level. You never leave that. And it doesn't matter what the other side is reading. You could have multiple orchestration services on the other side. We don't care. But also at the same time, you're only get you get around this 2-3 rule basically. Because this 2-3 rule is what I call online mode. Like there's someone waiting and sitting on the other side for you to respond. So you have to structure them this way. But if it's event based, it's basically a hybrid of being online and also event mode. You're firing, but you're not forgetting. You're
Yeah.
firing and waiting. Fire and observe, right? Paul says, don't all content types share the same type? No, he built local contracts. We just said that. We literally just said that. Okay, what do you think about that, Brian? This would be something that I have to do with you,
Mm.
only because, I want to prove a point. Like I want to prove if this is feasible at all, at scale. But also at the same time, this will be the birth of Lake House. The Lake House is basically is the idea of something firing and waiting for responses to come back without actually knowing who's listening on the other side. It's true abstraction.
How many years ago did we start talking about lake house? Really?
The thing about these ideas, and this is something I was talking to Christo about earlier. Um, you we need to have a purpose that drives these designs.
Mm-hmm.
This is not ancient Greece where we're just sitting there for days and months and years arguing some philosophical nonsense that may or may not ever be implemented. This is very practical approach to software engineering. We have a problem and we have to solve it now. And here's how we're going to solve that problem. So I'm not, excuse me. So I'm not just coming up with a theory. I'm saying here's how we used this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just fun. It's fun and it has a use for it. This would be the birth of Lake House, but we already have Levent. It does exactly that. Excuse me. Let me go back to Levent. Levent is published. It's living, breathing out there. If someone has the time, go add validation and exception handling because it's beta, but it's definitely living, breathing out there. Um, what Levent does, just so people know, Levent, did we use Kailu, did we use Levent in some projects together before? I think we
Get
did.
file.
Oh, get
Were we
file, that's
using get
right.
file?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So just so people know, you're publishing and notifying. So this guy, student orchestration, talking to some broker, and then going and saying, "Hey, something happened," and then other people are listening to it. When you see this at scale, it looks like this. Many, many, many listeners. Okay? So just going back to the contract of this library, I don't know what happened here. The standard community, what happened to our image here? Needs to be fixed. If I go into the contract here on the client side, Levent client, we're basically saying publish an event with value task, and this is registered. Here's the problem. We need a new contract in here that says value task list of T. So even Levent needs an update. See how this is like we need it's gonna take you down deep 3 systems and then you're gonna come back up.
Hit
But
the
when you
rabbit
come
hole.
it's down the rabbit hole. It's this is the best rabbit hole because we I don't even remember who proposed this event name, but it was the best idea ever. Like whoever came up with this, we implemented it, but it came out really, really well.
Mm.
And that's why we need also standardization, is because it doesn't matter what system we're working with, it follows the same rules. We don't have to relearn anything. Wait, you have a processing service and we're publishing something to it and it's giving us back results? Sign me up. Now, if I go back to the processing services that are underneath this, so the one where it says publish, yeah, it has the results, dude. Like it's basically going and saying event handler await. The only difference I have to do is I say list, give me that result and add that list and then shoot it right back to me. Easy peasy, lemon
Hmm.
squeezy. No problem there. So we have
Done.
two assignments. We have two assignments. The first assignment, I care more about being right than being early. I don't care about, if people
I've
want to go,
noticed.
yeah, it has to be right. So what's funny is, Brian, is that every time I implement something like this and put so much time and effort into it, I need it later in something that is even more critical because now I
Mm.
have the solution, right? So here's what we're gonna do, Brian. We're gonna start tomorrow by upgrading Levent
Hmm. We're going to start another session, or we're going to do it during these sessions.
in these sessions. In
Hmm.
these sessions, it's all part of it. It's
Mm.
a. I know Marvel directors would disagree, be like, "Oh, do a spin-off," and I'm like, "Nah, this is all part of this." Or we can, like, I mean, it's just a part of this whole endeavor,
Yep.
right? I'm trying to show people what it takes to build software properly and whether they're willing to take the risk to actually build something proper. I also want people to, if someone wants, go ahead and upgrade all these copyrights. I don't want to put it under my startup name. I want to give it back to the community the way it is. I mean, Chris already put his hand in it, so why not? So we could start from there. The real question here, Brian, just before we go crazy with this, if you're emitting events for a certain value, will this work if I give you back, like, let's just see here. So this is the event service, event processing service, and then you're basically saying publish event. Will they all be the same T type? Is this what's going to happen?
Let me think. So the processing service, you pass to it a object, the T object, the property service.
Mm.
The others, you don't. You're actually passing back the result of that one.
So they
Those three,
return different types, right?
only yes, they all turn. Yeah.
So hear me out. Here's
Hmm.
another idea.
In fact, the file name service doesn't even the file name processing service doesn't even return anything. It just attaches. It actually just updates the data from the stream content service, processing service. It adds the file name into that model.
But wait, you did say that all of them will take the same properties as input, but
Mm-hmm.
return different results. You did say that, right?
Yeah, well, I kind of lied. The file name one doesn't return a result. It just updates the same results as the stream content one. It actually adds the file name into that model. So
Mm,
the stream content processing service returns a model that has a blank file name. And then based on the one streams that it finds, it then goes to check to see if it has a file name with the file name processing service.
right.
So the file name processing service actually takes a kind of little. You'll see the
I just found I just found your solution.
yeah, just
You
can you see
need
the
to
screen?
merge file name and stream content processing service
Into one into one.
into one.
Yeah, they need to be an orchestration under. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If you look at the signature here, and this is what I've got on the screen at the moment.
Yeah,
You,
let's go.
yeah, you see what's happening there? It's taking the results from the stream and the
Mm.
file properties, and it's basically filtering these. Once it finds values, it updates them.
Let me go back here a second. We have 10 minutes, so we can have this exercise. You are sending an object, and this object has properties that have attributes on it.
Mm-hmm.
You're scanning these attributes.
See, this is you got to be careful here. What you do in the broker, you can't do any processing in the broker.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So you're basically going and saying, just give me back a list of all the attributes that you have. Value
Mm.
attribute, right?
No, no, no. You got to get the
Mm,
properties, and then you got to check each property one at a time to see what attributes are. Then you basically ask each property if it has an attribute.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's kind of backwards.
So you're getting all the properties
Mm-hmm.
and
And then
then sending back to the broker to check on every property what the
whether
attribute is and
whether
what.
whether it has the attribute I'm interested in the particular in the particular method in the broker. Yes.
Can you go back to the broker real quick? I want to see
Yeah.
something.
Yep. I'm having a bad day.
Should be all the way up.
Yeah,
Brokers,
yeah, yeah.
selections. Yeah.
Which one we want?
So show me the attribute.
So any one of these,
Yeah.
the file name one or the file?
And any one of them.
Yeah.
Get custom attribute. Go inside that one. Uh-huh. Okay, Lewis, casting business logic. Do you consider casting to be business logic? You're on mute, by the way.
Have we done something like something as some object in the broker before?
Did we? We
I
didn't.
don't remember.
I never done it. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think casting is. Brian, what happens if you take away that casting? What does it do?
Uh,
It freaks out, right?
I think I think so. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think this is okay. It's something for me to think about whether casting is considered a business logic or not. I don't have a straight answer to that, but um, for better or worse, yeah. Look, let's try to do this. Let's try to do this with a fire and observe pattern because you're always passing property info and object across all of them, right, Brian? All of them are the same, right? Like if you go to file content stream attributes, The file that's right under this one. What does it
Mm-hmm.
say? That takes property value. Only property value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then if you go inside get custom attribute, it's all the same. It's all calling the same method, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
This is that generic method I was talking about.
Yeah, and you're passing the specific type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is okay. Your brokers are definitely standard compliant. That's 100%. Um, the
Except,
the
yeah,
this
except for
method
mate.
is
Yeah, except
mm,
for this. Yeah.
you're not using that method anyway,
Mm.
right? Like, is this method used anywhere? You're not.
No, that was actually I just realised this. Thanks for pointing that out. It's
So I
was
don't even have to think about
yeah, no. Hmm.
And that's just
Appar-
get cut.
yeah, apparently that was something I was thinking of using yeah, because this has been through so many iterations.
Perfect. A
Mm.
problem that we don't have to worry about because we don't
Mhm.
have enough, right? We have
Mhm.
enough
Yeah,
problems.
I just make sure it's so that was what was the other one? We saw two, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually just it's just a remnant I left over. Damn.
And then if you go to property values,
Yeah.
this one has a select. You can't do that. That's business logic. For sure, that's business logic. Right, Kay? Select is a business logic, I think, because he's doing mapping. I think. Yeah, this is definitely business logic. It's okay.
Basically, yeah.
Because you
I'm
need
not.
tests to make sure that you're actually doing that conversion, right? So you can't do that.
It's not a
But
conversion.
That's
It's just picking
that's
up
a
the objects
business
and making a
logic.
list.
what is it, Kay?
That's a business logic.
That is business logic, I know. Because Brian, just to clarify, we like this conversion that you just made with get property value and you created that pattern, property value, that conversion is business logic. Like if I go and change one of these properties, there's no test for it. Nothing prove that this didn't happen because you're mocking upwards from here, right? And that's okay. That's okay, man. I'm telling you, you have a working solution. Like
Yeah, I can
but
marry these. I can marry these two values together up in the foundation service. I was
that's
just marrying.
exactly what I would do. That's
Yep.
exactly what I would do. But that's okay. That's something we
Yeah.
can get around as well. We can. Okay. Okay. So just kind of because we have 2 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
we have a working solution. We just need to standardize it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
And it's
standardizing it might give us an opportunity to actually finally find a reason to go implement a truly fire and observe kind of pattern where I can send a message to hundreds of services and not have to worry about an orchestration limitation a paradigm because they're all listening to the same message and they're all giving me answers back in the form of a list of responses, which is really great for us. The one only problem that I see here is the purity of the contract because Levent is gonna go and say, well, send me X and I will send you back a list of X's.
so. This just reminded me of why that get. See there, I've got that get property value there. That was that
Yeah.
other method that had 0 calls on it. I was doing it here instead of using the other method.
Mm. Still though, you're doing
Mm.
mapping. We're gonna push it
Mm.
up. We're gonna push it up one. That's not a problem. That's how we help ourselves stay primitive. Stay
Yep.
at the primitive level.
Well, that
But
means we're probably going to have to create another broker method, which is actually the one to get the values.
and that's okay. That's
Mm.
totally fine. As long as you're pushing away the native or external capabilities behind a broker, we should be
The,
okay.
the big one here is property infos. It's a native type. How do
Right.
I deal? How do I deal with that? Is it all right to use the native type
Oh, your
internally?
foundation service should be able to deal with native types
And can I push it?
underneath.
Yeah, can I push the foundation, the native types up higher? Because you cannot. You cannot do anything with property infos. They are read-only sealed classes.
They're garbage. They're really garbage. That's why we don't deal with them. We don't deal with these types because you you see how hard it is to mock or create an uninitializable object,
Mm,
which is the SQL exception.
yes.
The SQL, ask anyone out there to initialize a SQL exception. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they do it this way? I don't know. But here we are, right? Okay, tomorrow's session, we redesign this. We're
I
gonna
mean,
just move around some components. Are you gonna show up?
yeah.
I mean, you showed up to every session, so may as well. Just let's finish this. But yeah, I need to think about this for a while, but I think we might need to push for fire and observe if possible. We're gonna go slowly and implement that feature, and then we're gonna go all the way back to OpenAI and actually finish this darn feature. And from that onwards, we'll truly have a way where it will be truly a simple RESTful library that you don't have to worry or understand even what multi-part form is, because all you have to know is just push a model and get back the results for that model, and that's all you care about. I think it's pretty great. I think it's totally worth it. Okay, let's connect tomorrow.
No worries.
Unless you or Kylo have anything to say, comments, concerns, questions, anything, guys? Good.
No, I'm good. Kaylee's
All
on
right.
mute. I'm not sure if he said anything.
Yeah. He's 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 the silent watcher. All right.
I'm good. I'm good.
He's good. Yeah. And of course, for the people watching, feel free to hop in and ask questions. This is a little bit of a deeper topic, but we're up for it. That's the fun stuff that a little bit more exciting than just moving data around. We're still moving data around. It's just really much more fun way to do it, than the regular. So instead of just drinking the water like this, we're gonna flip the cup upside down and be like, watch what I can do. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kay.
No worries.
Take care. Thank you, everyone. Take care.